So first of all, hooray, 200 videos. I was hoping that my 200th video would be like something really special, but I'm actually okay with it just being like a normal, typical video. But secondly, I have come to terms with the fact that I will not be able to finish all the Oscar videos I want to put out before the Oscars tomorrow. But I'm just gonna keep on doing them because why not? Let's just talk about them anyway. But for now, we'll be talking about Best Original Score. So the nominees for that are The Grand Budapest Hotel, Alexandre Desplat; The Imitation Game, Alexandre Desplat; Interstellar, Hans Zimmer; Mr. Turner, Gary Yershon; and The Theory of Everything, Johan Johansson. Now I'm actually a bit disappointed with this list because there's a few of them here that I don't necessarily think really deserve Oscar nominations. I like them, but I would have really wanted to see the score for Gone Girl up here by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I think they really added an extra dimension to the whole movie. I would have made them, win if they got nominated. I would have also wanted to see maybe How to Train Your Dragon 2 or Big Hero 6 or Nightcrawler, but this is what we have now. And so in terms of who I think should win the Oscar, at number 5, I would put Mr. Turner. Now, objectively speaking, I think Mr. Turner does have great music. All the music is this very sparse kind of string instrumentation that I think really captures the contradictory nature of J.M.W. Turner's character. It's very haunting and fragile, but at the same time, it's very dignified, just like Mr. Turner himself. It's never what I like about the score is that it's classical, but it's never really sweeping like most classical scores. In fact, it's almost hesitant at points. Before the music ever gets into like a real kind of groove or rhythm, it just kind of stops, and I really really like that. But it's at fifth place for me because simply it's not present enough in the movie, in my opinion. Because this movie is like 2.5 hours long, and some of the best parts of the movie are great because of their silence. So the music is kind of memorable. It's just not really in the movie enough, I think, to warrant a nomination. Now, at number 4, I'm going to put The Imitation Game. When I first heard the music from The Imitation Game, I instantly thought of the gears kind of turning in Alan Turing's mind, and it feels a bit like the score that you would hear in a thriller, which I think is great because The Imitation Game is sort of like a thriller as well, and the music really just kind of reflects like the busyness and the fact that things are always going on. And there's something both kind of inspiring and melancholic at the same time when you hear this music, that I think also really reflects Alan Turing's own kind of state of mind. The fact that he's playing his own imitation game, he's trying to hide his own secrets while trying to unlock the German secrets. But it's at fourth place for me because, again, I just don't feel like there's a lot of variety in the score throughout the movie. You just hear the same kind of theme throughout the entire thing, and the impact kind of weakens the more you hear it. And it is kind of a typical sweeping score for a British period Oscar baity kind of movie, so that's why it's here. Now, number 3, I'm going to put The Theory of Everything. The first time I heard the music from this movie, it really did just send chills up my spine. I do think that objectively speaking, it's a very, very fantastic score. For me, it's very similar to the Imitation Game score in the sense that it's very busy as well, and it's very, very kind of inspiring. But unlike the Imitation Game, it doesn't have a real kind of urgency about it. Instead, it has this kind of grand celebratory feel to it that I think really, really works. But at the same time, I think that the music is very kind of humble in its roots because at least the first theme you hear, like I think it's the main theme, it really just kind of builds on this simple little piano riff that plays throughout the entire thing. And I like how it's just simple in that regard, but it still kind of feels very uplifting. It might be a result of just hearing it in the trailer, but I was reminded of fireworks when I heard the theme, but I don't know. But it's at number 3 for me because there's also not a lot of variety in my opinion. It is also kind of Oscar baity in a sense, but it does work much better than the Imitation Game score in the sense that when I listen to the music separate from the film, it's better for me than the Imitation Game. At number 2, I'm going to put Interstellar. And the music in Interstellar is great because it reminds you of all these like old school space epics and whatnot. I mean, everyone compared Interstellar to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and those comparisons for me are kind of well earned because it does have that retro feeling at times without ever sounding dated. It still sounds modern in the sense that it's very grandiose and it has that urgency as well. And has all of Hans Zimmer's like best Zimmerisms, if I can call them that, in the sense that a lot of the music here has like really fantastic build up, and the climaxes of the songs really are very very fulfilling. And there's always this sense of wonder that accompanies all the music, and it has this fearlessness about it, has this hope, and for me it really does reflect the themes of the movie itself. But I'm only putting it in second place because it also tends to have some of Hans Zimmer's more negative Zimmerisms in some scenes, and by this I mean like the music can get very blaring at certain points. There's a real lack of subtlety sometimes, which is a gripe I always have with Hans Zimmer, and it always feels like he's trying a bit too hard at points to really just tug at your heartstrings. And I know a lot of people love his music, but that's why I'm not like a huge Hans Zimmer fan, because that's like one thing I just really can't get over. So at number one, and the movie that I think should win this Oscar, is the music from the Grand Budapest Hotel. I think it's fantastic. It's extremely varied and quirky. No song in this score sounds the same really, and just the instrumentation is just so yeah, it's just so different, and it's just so endlessly fun to listen to because there's so much going on. It manages to give the film's setting and its characters a real sense of like their own culture, which is incredible to do, while always staying consistent. As different as all the songs sound, like the music is always it always feels like it's from the same movie. And score is good when you try to replace it with another score in your mind, and it's just absolutely impossible. It really just avoids all cliches, in my opinion. Like when the movie is trying to go for a certain emotion, the music never just goes straight for that emotion. It makes you work for it, and I think that's great. All the music has this kind of sadness, but at the same time, there's really like old world dignity about it, which I think again reflects the tone of the movie very well. And the traditional arrangements throughout the score, I think, are much harder to unlock and access, emotionally speaking, compared to like more modern songs, which I think is great because it really does make you work to figure out how you should feel about certain scenes. But in terms of who I think will win the Oscar, I think I'm gonna give it to The Theory of Everything because it just has that slightly Oscar baity quality to it, but it is a really fantastic score, and I think it's gonna tug at the heartstrings of the Oscar voters enough for them to vote for it. So yeah. So those are my thoughts on the Best Original Score category. Who do you think should win? Who do you think will win? Whatever you think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.